us on the map. Mr. Caruana leading the beat. Australia global rank 6. Feeling the heat like immortality.
All right, so in this video, we're going to go through our Sustainable Development Goal 4, being quality education. So what is the definition of it? It is ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. So these are the goals that are related to SDG 4. Through doing this, what is going to happen is we're going to increase people's levels of health literacy, all right? Having high levels of health literacy empowers individuals to make their own choices and decisions. So instead of just hearing an ad on TV or seeing it on their Facebook feed or not knowing exactly what's going on in their body, people feel empowered because they know what's happening. They know, risk behaviors, health behaviors, and ideally they know the things that they should be doing to improve their health or at least maintain their health and not get sicker. So it is helping them make those informed health decisions. So quality education also reduces gender and socioeconomic disparities. So there isn't a big gap in between males and females or low socio and high socioeconomic health levels, okay? By providing quality education for all, it will hopefully reduce that gap and reduce those barriers so that, you don't have the highest levels of socioeconomic people in Australia always achieving the best health and the lowest levels being far, far behind. We're hopefully trying to bring those guys up. And interestingly enough, and it probably makes sense, but higher education levels directly correlate in the data with decreased morbidity rates, increased employment opportunities and satisfaction in employment, and increased living conditions. So overall, the data shows that the higher level of education that you have attained actually links to your level of health and well-being. So that's our intro to quality education. I'm going to rub this off and then we'll go through our quality education in communities. Okay, so how has SDG 4 been applied in other communities? So SDG 4 means deploying health literacy programs and improving school retention to break the cycle of disadvantage that comes from that socioeconomic status. So for example, the Healthy Cities Illawarra partners with local schools to deliver physical activity and nutritional programs to youth. So this is on top of their general PDHPE, but also that's going to improve retention because instead of you just getting your standard teacher with your standard lessons, hey, you've got this cool program coming to deliver it for you. Like Healthy Harold sort of did when we were young. I don't know if Healthy Harold's still around. What a ledge. Well, there wasn't just one Harold. I'm assuming there was lots of Harolds. But anyway, I liked Healthy Harold. So same thing, all right? And that's going to encourage people to get to school to learn about the importance of physical activity, learn about the importance of good nutrition and what good nutrition actually looks like. And that helps build that foundational knowledge at a young age. So they're already interested and they've already got the basics under the belt. So as they get older, they're able to build on those foundations and make better informed decisions. Also, remote Indigenous communities are delivering culturally safe maternal health education in local language to increase birth weight and infant survival. And we've already spoke about how targeted programs for First Nations peoples needs to be culturally safe and hopefully delivered in community by community. And this is satisfying all of that criteria, which is excellent. All right, so what lessons can be learned and applied in our community? So once again, came through in SDG 3, partnerships, that multi-sector collaboration that happens between the health system, educators, community, government, etc. Everyone working together for a common goal is going to be way more successful than just delivering standalone programs by standalone institutions or levels. Programs should be community-led or at least co-designed with community members. So you can't just develop a program in Canberra and apply it in the Hunter region. Okay, it needs to be consulted with local government and area people and therefore embed that program and make it applicable to society that we live in. One of the key things that shines through with SDG 4 is this notion that prioritizing early education and intervention, okay, and I wrote it down the bottom here to finish off too. Early education is one of, if not the most effective, preventative health strategy. If you want to stop people from getting sick in the first place, generally early education is a really great time to deliver those messages. As adults, we get very set in our routines, and if you've been doing something for years, then it's really hard to break that cycle. You look at smoking, okay? There's not a single person alive that thinks smoking is actually good for them. No one is lighting up a cigarette, putting it to their mouth, drawing it into their lungs and going, oh man, I am getting healthier every draw here, okay? But despite all of these strategies that we have to stop people smoking, once you are hooked and once you are addicted, it's very, very hard to get off it. So by embedding the no smoking message in early childhood, obviously before they've been smoking, is the best way to stop people from smoking and stop people getting lung cancer, okay? And this applies to all the things, okay? You know, overweight and obesity, diabetes, drugs and alcohol, motor vehicle accidents, etc. These messages need to be embedded young so that as they grow older, those connections are already made in their brain and they know, hey, that's dangerous. Hey, that's risky. I shouldn't do that, okay? And then make those better informed decisions. So local examples of how's this applied locally? So Hunter New England Local Health District, good for kids. Okay. The program targets early childhood centers to enable fundamental movement and nutrition into daily routines. Okay, so once again, in early childhood centres, but it does go into primary schools in area 2 to teach kids good, healthy habits and hopefully start that daily routine, and then it's delivered in the classrooms as well. You know, like my daughters, for example, they do like crunch and sip. So they're able to take like a small fruit snack to school and eat that in the morning after breakfast, but before sort of lunchtime. So those types of routines are very, very helpful, and that can instill a lifelong passion for nutrition and health. So what are the major issues for a community related to SDG 4? Okay, so once again, it's going to come back to that low health literacy concept. So low health literacy through early school leavers is a root cause of many morbidities experienced in our region or in all regions. Also reduces employment opportunities, and it does increase risk behaviours. For example, certain suburbs, I'm not going to name them, you can look them up, and this will apply to wherever you're watching this video, okay? Whatever city you live in that city area, there are going to be suburbs, and you know what I'm talking about. Those suburbs have lower socioeconomic status. Purely with these statistics, just talking about the Hunter region, or the Lake Macquarie, I should say, certain suburbs in our region have higher proportion of socioeconomic disadvantaged families, and not surprisingly, these pockets of low socioeconomic disadvantage also experience the highest rates of obesity, diabetes, childhood obesity, CVD, okay, in the region, all right? So the top morbidities and causes of mortality are the highest in these regions with the lowest socioeconomic disadvantage, or socioeconomic status, I should say. Also, increased youth psychological distress with inadequate support networks. So in other words, youth that are living in these pockets are experiencing things in their day-to-day lives, which is causing a lot of extra stress that some of you watching these videos would never experience in your whole life. And they don't feel supported because generally someone's support network is meant to be their family and their friends, but usually the stress is coming from family and friends and they don't know where to turn. So then they just go with it and then bad things happen, you know. All right, so what strategies are needed to make sure that SDG 4 is successful by 2030? So 3 things. We've got curriculum integration, targeted community workshops, and student-led advocacy, all right? So putting these into an example. So upskilling all early childhood and primary educators on risk and protective factors for the top causes of mortality and morbidity, okay? In this course, we've learnt about the top causes of mortality and morbidity and the risk and protective factors related to those things and why certain people and certain groups are more likely to get those conditions as opposed to others. I bet you if you grabbed 100 primary and early childhood centre teachers from the region and put them in like, you know, an exam onto the risk protective factors, you know, warning signs, symptoms, etc., of the top cause of mortality and morbidity, you know, overweight, obesity, diabetes, cancers, and then obviously big ones like dementia and Alzheimer's. A lot of people still don't know things that we can do to protect dementia and Alzheimer's, but you guys hopefully do now. Anyway, what I'm saying is if you put all these guys into a test, I bet you most of them would fail, okay? It's not just the role of the PDHPE teacher to teach this stuff, all right? We know that if we're going to improve the outcomes of First Nations peoples, then everyone needs to be in on the discussion and around delivering culturally safe and culturally awareness around educating First Nations peoples. The same happens with top levels of mortality and morbidity. Everyone needs to be on board with it, okay? So teachers are role models, and you need to be delivering that education at these younger ages, okay? So in early childhood attendance, in primary schools, and those teachers should be role modeling that same healthy behavior, okay? You should be, eating healthy and exercising and encouraging the students and the young kids in front of you to do the same. Another one we can do is that the school student representative councils could run awareness and education activities, such as Are You OK Day? I know we do something very similar here at school, to start a conversation about mental health and reduce stigma. And because it's being delivered by students, for the students, they're more likely to get an outcome as opposed to, me standing up and delivering a mental health session or, an external agency who students have never met before coming in and delivering a program. Okay, that's really great. It's good they're getting an education, but they don't have those connections with those people, but they do have connections with people in community and in school. They're the ones that need to be delivering the messages to make sure the strategies work. All right, so how do we know if the strategies for SDG 4 have been or are successful? So we're going to track attainment and level of completion data in regions, including school retention data, okay, which directly correlates with lower risk behaviours such as smoking, drinking, drink driving, etc. We could empower young people by taking health literacy surveys, especially not only at schools, but you could do it when they visit GPs, etc., and sort of grade their levels of health literacy. And then we could track that data over time to see whether they're improving, which hopefully they are. And then we can also use hospital admission data, particularly for youth, for preventable conditions, okay? So the things that youth are going to into the hospital system for, which could have been prevented through better protective behaviours and better choices. If these things go down, then we know that the education has made an impact. So to summarise it all, I've got this down here and you can probably memorise this if this is the only thing you take away from the video. Using SDG 4, quality education, is a highly effective long-term strategy. By empowering young people with health literacy, it creates generational shifts in community health and reduces future healthcare burden. Time is the only issue. Educational strategies take years or even decades to see improvement or fruition and do not reduce current acute burden. And that'll wrap us up for SDG 4, quality education. Thanks.